of Underrated and Overlooked podcast. Hope everybody's having a great start to their week. Craig is back from vacay. Glad to have him back. A lot to discuss today. I think this will be a very fiery show. Obviously, a little bit of controversy out there with some takes and stuff like that. So it'll be really, really interesting. But we're gonna get into some high school news, some major workings. Kaden Williams is committed, so we'll be reacting to that. Also, we got news about Christian Langford. I think that's big. Heard it happen a little while ago, but I just found out, so I think that's big news. We got to cover today for sure. Major guys going to different camps. Got to definitely talk about that. And then obviously we'll get into the national championship game for the women's and the men's, breaking down that action, and then we'll obviously conclude with some Braves news. They got a big series coming up this weekend against the Padres, and then obviously just a little bit of basketball news, and that's it. But without further ado, the biggest thing that stood out to me, I think we should talk about it first, is Christian Langford, right? Him going to Buford, which I think there was question marks at the quarterback position. We all know they were upset last year, but I mean, then they ended up losing King Joseph Edwards, but they got Khalil Bowden, who's still going to be there. They get the two guys that transferred over, the big 6'7", 6'8" guys for the offensive line. So just how good do you think they're going to be? And I think that was their kind of missing piece, was landing a really good quarterback and Christian Langford. I think he's going to take the next step next year.
Yes, it was. The move says a lot because last year was Christian Langford's first ever time playing. He was only a sophomore. Freshman year, I think he took maybe 2 touches. Comes in and plays a significant role. Had a 6 touchdown game early in the season, 5 touchdowns. You look at his overall numbers, he had some big games, some big wins, played tough teams, Carrollton, Camden in the playoffs, Westlake. Really competitive 7-day schedule. As a sophomore, held his own. He did have a lot of talent at the receiver position, but a lot of those guys were also new to the scene. You go to a place like Buford, that's obviously well established. You're going to have the stable of running backs around you. And then I think with him, Christian Langford's athleticism could really blossom and take off. He wasn't asked to do that much, but he did have 74-yard touchdown run early in the season. He actually caught a touchdown pass in the win over Lowndes. He's a great athlete. I think just last year, his first taste of varsity experience and making that move to Buford, where you're probably going to have some potential competition at that quarterback spot. We'll see where he lands in that sense next year, or if he's going to be that guy in 2 seasons. He'll obviously make a big role, but I think him going to Buford, it is significant. And as you mentioned with all their other transfers, they were not happy that they got knocked out in the playoffs last year. That is a rare sign. First time since 2001 they didn't make it to the semifinals. So they're definitely loading up, looking to make a run.
No, I agree. I mean, as you said, that's going to be really interesting. Who's going to be their quarterback? As far as Christian Langford's coming in, probably going to be in competition. He started as a sophomore for East Carolina last year, so I think that's going to be intriguing to see who comes out of the pack, who's going to be the quarterback. I think that's going to be a really important position for them next year coming into the season, because as you said, they always have that staple of running backs. They always have a really good defense. Execution is nothing to sneeze at. That guy's really good, top recruit. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to be the starter one. And they got some big games coming up this season as well, some national games that we'll talk about another time. But things will be interesting to see. But also, we had another news. I'm going to share this screen with you guys so you guys can see it. He played in our Georgia League Classic event. Kaden Williams committed to Liberty. Really good player. He was Georgia League Classic MVP, 2024 class. I believe he's a 3-star. Just what do you think about the move for him, and then committing early and kind of getting that process, kind of behind him and being able to focus on the season?
Versatile guy. Calhoun produces a ton of really tough kids. Almost everyone on their team's a dual sport athlete. He plays both sides of the ball. You mentioned his MVP performance. I think Calhoun has been one of the better programs. They play in an incredible region. He's coming in college ready. I think Liberty's a good fit. That guy wants to go to the next level, play a big conference football, Power 5, and we'll see. I mean, I like the early commits heading into the season. Kind of takes that pressure off, and then he can just focus on getting stronger, getting bigger, and obviously Calhoun has a chance this year.
Yeah, certainly do. They'll be right there in the thick of the race in the 5A. So yeah, getting it out the way early so you can focus on the season, I think is always a good thing. So obviously we'll be watching out for him. That's the major news. But the bombshell, I think, is what we revealed last week, and you actually wrote this article, Craig, and I think it's really incredible. And I think this is going to change the whole thing and change the whole high school landscape. So this is pretty incredible. We're going to actually share this with you guys as well. Definitely want you guys to see this. Um, Give me 1 second to find it. All right, Craig. So, I mean, we announced the first ever um, media day for Georgia high school football. First off, I love the logo. I think the
Yeah.
logo is incredible. It kind of symbolizes Georgia football. I like the peach color as well. But I'm just super excited. I mean, I've heard, Graham already said, our GM said, over 10, 15 schools that they weren't expecting to come. I've already called him to come to the event. And as I've been saying, I think it's huge just from a recruiting perspective because some recruiting analysts there. Wesley Mansell is going to be there. Um, and I think it's big too for kids that necessarily may be kind of overlooked and underrated, kind of getting that chance to put us on the radar or put different people on the radar, recruiting analysts, and then give themselves a shot if they can't make D1, going D2, D3, or NAIA, or even if they don't want to play after. We've seen some athletes not want to play high school football after, but be able to go into a trade that makes them $18 an hour right out. So what are your thoughts on that really big announcement?
It's going to have a huge impact. First of all, early in a football season, you mentioned all the guys that are under the radar. It's so important for these coaches to talk to the media about their team. Just give us a general sense, and then if you're kind of caught up with what the team's going to look like, who the big players are, week 1, week 2, then that hype, that attention can start building. Guys will hit the radar. Um, when you have potentially 100 teams participating in this, it's huge. We talked about all the transfers. This allows the coaches to set the record straight. I like that we're also going to be bringing the offensive and defensive coordinator. Let's kind of find out what style of play they're going to run. We rely in the high school realm so much on kind of a collective coverage effort.
Yep.
The great job they do down in Savannah, the Gwinnett Daily Post does a great job. This is an opportunity for everyone to come, obviously cover their area schools, but let's just be honest, these schedules, the non-region one, there's a lot of crossover.
Yep.
Teams are playing the North, South, Georgia powerhouses early on. It's going to help us kind of get that understanding with some of these teams, and I also think it's good training for the athletes that might not have gotten to talk to the media yet. I mean, just learning how to communicate, talk about the team, talk about what you've been doing in the off season. It's good practice for guys that are going to go on and represent themselves throughout the season.
No, I agree. And my bad, guys. What do you think of also, Craig? Your component of it being one of the analysts there and being one of the commentators that's going to be interviewing some of these players and these seniors coming up. How excited are you to be playing that role as well?
Yeah, it'll be fun. So 92.9 The Game, they're going to have their regularly scheduled broadcasting for all their normal daytime shows, but they're going to be live from the event. They'll do player interviews, and then there's going to be 5 stages set up at once. Each team gets 45 minutes. That's a lot of time to talk to them. I'll be one of the guys handling the interviews. Najeh will, obviously. And not only is it going to be just a good opportunity to learn, it's exactly what I said. It's so helpful to us to talk to the coaches, talk to the players before the season starts. And then once the season, you can go back and listen to what they said, see if they're hitting their goals or not, see if they're overachieving. And you can really get the general sense of what a team's mindset is. You talked to Coach Bruner last year before the Buford game, and based off the conversation, it convinced you. And so I think we're going to see it. And it's also helpful, just all these coaching changes. But it's a big event. No other state is going to be doing it.
Yeah, real quick, but not to interrupt you, but yeah, talk about that point. I wanted to ask you too, because you've been in the game so long, a decade plus. Is there any other state that does a high school media? Obviously, you have Grayson Media Days and some of the schools that do it, but to this extent, is there another state that you can think of that does it as well?
No, not at all. And let's look at who are the biggest competitors to Georgia high school football in this conversation. Texas, California, Florida. Those states are way bigger, not just in population size, geographically. Atlanta, yeah, it might be a 4 hour drive or whatever, but you look at the setting of this and then the timing. It's a week after SEC Media Day. It's during the acclimation period, so teams aren't even allowed to practice for 2 hours or more. It's also going to be kind of in between once they have started that 2 a day, the dog days of summer. It's less than a month from the season, actually, probably just like 3 weeks. And then how do you accommodate 90, 100 teams? Well, that venue, people, it's in Atlanta. Well, yeah, true.
Right.
It's not going to be a 10-minute, 30-minute drive for every team, but that's the old Turner Field, Georgia State Stadium, Center Park Stadium, the new Georgia State basketball arena. There's enough parking to make this happen, and then we'll be able to broadcast it live. So we've had Gwinnett Media Day, Forsyth Media Days, but this is just an effort for everyone to come together. It's about Georgia high school football right before the season. Let's get people excited and just show what the season's going to look like.
Yeah, I can tell you for one, I'm excited to be a part of this. I'm definitely excited to be one of the talents that'll be interviewing some of the players. I'm excited to learn about some of the players I may not know of. I think it's going to be an incredible event. I think next year you're going to probably even see us expand even more. I mean, obviously this is kind of a test run for it. Obviously this is the first year of it, but I think next year you're going to see 3 to 4 probably days of this, and I think that's incredible because you're allowing the kids, almost a platform where we can learn more about them, find out more about their team and what to watch out for this season. And then, as I said, me and you having our podcast streaming all week long, I think that's going to be incredible content to talk about and and things like that. So I'm super excited, and I think it's big time. I think Georgia football is heading in the right space, and we obviously both talked about the ramifications and the implications of having the official reviews and instant replay at Corky Hill Classic, which we'll also be at. That's huge. So that goes to show you how plugged and connected we are obviously with Scoreland, the brand, and obviously in Georgia high school football. So, man, I'm excited. I think it's going to be an incredible event, and I think it's going to be something we're going to see for years to come.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I think there will be a lot of coverage with it. We're asking teams to bring all their seniors, then the underclassmen that are going to contribute. I think it'll be a nice break from practice too.
Exactly.
Getting to come up there and get in the spotlight. I'm interested. I think the players will probably all either wear a uniform. I mean, this will be broadcasted. It will be televised. So it's just a good opportunity to get those 45 minutes to really send a message on what you guys have been doing this off season, what the goals are, and I think it will be great. The goal is, I think, in the future to even make it more than one day, and that will be even more convenient. But this first time, it's got to be one big day.
9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll be busy.
Yep, nonstop.
Nonstop. But we're going to leave it there, guys. We're going to transfer to our next segment. But I do want to answer a question I thought was really important. We're going to answer your other two later in the show. But I thought this one was interesting. Why does Northeast struggle producing college football talent in comparison with the South? I don't know. That's such a good question. And then when you say that, do you mean like from the high school level, or do you mean just getting the talent for college? Because I would say, I think down south there's more. I'm trying to think of the word to say. I think there's more of a platform per se for like down south. I think it's more like got more television. I don't really hear a lot of events up north being televised where players can kind of get that notice and that kind of exposure for one. And I think two, just the how it goes, right? So it's almost year round. So right, you got football that starts right in August, goes all the way to December. You got players still working out. Their offseason programs start like early February, maybe late February, early March. They're already doing their offseason workouts in their programs. And then from there, they're getting their spring games together, right? They have their spring game, obviously, in May. And then from there, they're competing in the summer, right? They're competing in the summer. And then, from there, they're doing 7-on-7 tournaments, right? So they're constantly getting their body ready for the season. They're constantly in shape. And then, I would say too, like the camps, right? There's more. Georgia's been more known now, or I'll just speak from Georgia. I won't say all of the South, but Georgia's more so now known as a football state, right? It's still a basketball state. I mean, some great basketball players as well, but from a football perspective, You got more recruiting down here. You got guys coming down here to see. You've been having some of the top recruits recently, quarterback position, Trevor Lawrence of the world, Justin Fields, and them going to bigger major schools. So I think that component of it. I think more exposure is the reason why. And I think just constantly playing the game and constantly being in shape, I think helps, and obviously the camps as well.
100%. I think down here it does consume a lot more time. It's a bigger deal, but the other factor, Georgia pays its coaches more than these other states. It's based off um, the pension you get from retirement. And so this entire coaching carousel, the state of Georgia is probably the top landing spot. There's more six-figure head coaching job, offensive, defensive coordinator jobs in Georgia than other states. So we'll take even a lot of these coaches, they'll win a couple state championships in Kentucky, come to Georgia just a few seasons, and then by coming to Georgia, that's going to register into the highest salary you get for your pension. So that adds even more pressure to come in as a coach to really put your players to work. And I mean, we see some of the top programs, if you get knocked out in the quarterfinals, you're gone as the head coach. They have no patience for that.
None.
So, and that's because if you're one of these schools, your head coach is making $160,000 salary. You want to win then and now. And so we have, I think it's 28 city schools. Those are the highest paying, but Georgia does pay more than other states. I think that is a big factor.
And then to your point about the basketball point, because you say you notice they produce really good basketball talent, maybe compared to football. The difference with the basketball is that it's the same thing with football. They're playing it year round, right? So obviously the season starts November, goes all the way to March where they have the state championships, and then that's it, right? Then from there, the kids are going right back into it maybe a week or two after, and they're playing travel ball. They're playing AAU. They're playing for another team, and then that goes all the way into the summer, all the way to August. Probably their season in, and then they might get a couple weeks break, and then they're getting ready for the high school basketball season. Excuse me. So I think that's another reason, and then exposure to the camps, and then a lot of things too. To be honest with you, they play national schedules. Like Willard just played a national schedule, right? They were playing Columbus, right? They were playing in DeSoto. They're playing Duncanville, and things like that, right? So when you play that national schedule, you're getting your kids exposure for one, and then two, you're going against the creme de la creme, right? You're seeing, who's going to be on the forefront of who you have to play, and then your kids are playing the top tier talent, and that's only going to get them better, right? So that's one thing. Also, I can say too, the scheduling I think is very important as well, and definitely helps out the talent and the players because they keep getting better and better by playing some of the best people, and they're not afraid to schedule out of state opponents and really good out of state opponents at that, and like losing by 10 or 15 points in basketball or losing by a couple touchdowns in football, learning from that and then learning how to structure the program and get better. So I think that's also another standpoint as well. The only problem in Georgia, if I have to be honest, is the exposure for basketball. I don't think, and when I say that, I don't think we televise it enough, right? Primetime matchups, are not on TV. Like this year, just for an example, Willard versus McEachern. That was Elite Eight game. That should have been televised, right? That should have been in a neutral site, in my opinion. You got some of the top recruits in the nation playing in that game, right? The Norcross versus Newton game, same thing. Some of the top recruits in the nation. That should be a televised game. So that's the only standpoint I see what Georgia has to get better at with basketball is the more exposure.
100%. And it's crazy. I mean, we get done with the football season, even by the time Georgia Elite's over, now it's January. Basketball season started in mid-November, and the next thing you know, it's like a month and a half. Then it's the playoffs. And the season's over. And so we don't get that head start that we get in other sports. It's kind of jumping on. Everyone's focused on covering the fall sports, and then it's just we're a little late to the party. Yeah,
I agree. But I think we would catch up, even if we kept our formula we have now. I think just in January, catching up majorly and then kind of shifting the focus more to it. And then, like you said, just not every game because basketball has games Tuesday, Thursdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, but getting a couple like tournaments, I think, and televising those with some of the major teams in the state.
Yep. A lot of the media is, I guess, spread a little thin during the time when the basketball season starts. So they're obviously focusing on covering football, the fall sports, and then it is a little late. So it's hard to get really that expert analysis on who are the best players and then getting that out to people so they know who to watch for. But there are people that obviously do that and do an incredible incredible job, Kyle Sandy in particular.
Oh, he does a phenomenal job. I think he has camps right now. Oh, he's
Yep.
actually getting married too, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Saw that 3 days ago. So congrats to him. But yeah, he's one of the few guys where he's covering the basketball off season before it starts. And so that's what you would need more of to get the exposure where it needs to be instead of just kind of jumping in mid season.
Exactly. But we're going to leave it there. Appreciate the other person tuning into our stream. We're going to keep it going. A lot to talk about as far as the basketball tip, NCAA. So we're going to get into that right this second. Craig, I want to know, what do you think? I mean, this is a two-sided question for you. Do you think UConn, do you consider them a blue blood now after them winning? And then, if yes, I want you to spend on that. And then, do you think it was good that this year's national champion wasn't necessarily a blue blood? So it's kind of a double-sided. What you think?
Well, they were definitely the blue blood compared to the rest of the Final Four field. I think they have some good recruits coming in, and this is only going to help strengthen that prestige around them. And so that's a good sign for them. Stephon Castle, all those guys. And
Can't wait to see him play.
Yeah, you win a national championship. That's a destination spot now. I just thought they looked so great during the entire tournament. They really, defensively, they shut down teams. The first game I tuned in was that St. Mary's one.
Mm-hmm.
St. Mary's came out, made some shots. They weren't rattled at all. They just seemed to have a even keel run the entire tournament and just handled business and made it look easy, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think UConn's trending in that category. I mean, what's so cool about them is that every year they win it, they are not an AP top 25 team, which is insane. And then they go and win it, and you may be like, oh, well, they may not have the best talent or the blue blood talent, but they make it work. They play as a team, right? Adadame Sanogo, like, he played great all tournament long. Tristan Newton coming up big in his senior season in the tournament was huge for them. But you go to the other teams, having the Shabazz Napiers, having the Kimball Walkers of the world, Jeremy Lambs, stepping up big in those big time moments. Alex Oriaki, those players. And I love what it is as a program. And, obviously it was crazy. I looked at the standings too. They were the 4th or 5th best team in their conference, 13-7, and they won it all, which is insane. You had 4 other
dominating
teams
fashion.
in dominating fashion. Like, they won all their games by double digits. But I thought that stood out to me. Obviously, I want to give San Diego State credit. I think they didn't score a bucket for like 11 minutes, which was tough. And that just goes to show you how good UConn's defense was. Like, they held them to 32% shooting overall, and then 26% shooting from 3-point range. So their defense was good all year. And then when they were able to get back in the game, I felt like they ran out of gas, and I felt like they got away from what got them back in the game. Getting the ball to Ladie, getting the ball to Keyshawn Johnson in the paint, which was causing UConn a little bit of trouble. They went away from that. They started shooting threes and things like that. That's not really their game, right? So I think that was really tough for them. But I thought overall, man, I mean, it was a good game, great tournament from UConn. And also I got another point to make too. So Adame Sanogo, he was a force all tournament long, tournament's most outstanding player. He ended his campaign with a 17-point, 10 rebound, triple double. He was a force. An interesting tidbit is that for him and his other teammates, Hassan, Diaraya, Samson, Johnson, they all observe Ramadan because Adam Sonoga is a Muslim. So therefore, they abstained from eating or drinking from sunup to sundown throughout the tournament.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
My buddy Akbar Kadar, he was my basketball teammate, the same thing. So I didn't realize that until high school, and he told me about it. And then, yeah, you see some guys do it in college, the NBA. Yeah, it's really impressive. I couldn't do that.
No,
I could not.
That is tough. That is some different kind of willpower and a different kind of mentality to have to be able to do that. But shout out to them, and shout out to San Diego State. I mean, an incredible run. Just came up a little bit short, and I thought that Lamont Butler, I don't know if you've seen that buzzer beater. That dude, that was cold-blooded. Like, less than 2 seconds and knocking it down to knock FAU out the tournament. Just let's talk about that really quick. What did you thought about that shot?
Yeah, so, first, one of the things I thought UConn did well the whole tournament is answer. Second, the team made a shot, kind of got back in it. They just immediately answered. In that game, though, yeah, they're down by 3. They make a shot, get a defensive stop, and then can't draw up a better look than that. And just got to a spot, nice jumper right there, and killed it.
They said the Premier League is recognizing Ramadan letting players break fast at mid-game. Interesting. I didn't know that.
I wonder, so they let them do it, but some of the players probably still don't.
I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, obviously. That's interesting. Good point by you.
Is that yeah?
No, definitely. But we got a little bit of controversy. We're gonna leave the tournament there. I've gotten called to sell out for my take on this. Um, but we want to react now to Angel Reese situation. If you guys haven't seen it, um, kind of the race element of it. I'm gonna see if I can pull a clip really quick just to maybe look at it really fast or just look at the
Just seen a
photo.
photo.
Yeah, just look at the photo.
This whole thing, I hate people like that.
Let me see.
It's fine. I mean, I don't know why we decided this not to stop sending the fine thing.
I'm not gonna do that one.
Yeah, that's a little too spicy.
Yeah, I just need like a good photo, like them both doing it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, I mean, you missed the appeal. Sorry.
Okay, right here. I think this is a great one. All right, here.
Yep.
I'm gonna pull this one right up for y'all. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm about to share the screen so y'all can see it.
Yes.
Right here. All right, so this is about most people feel. It was cute when Clinton Clark did it. Y'all didn't have any issues with it at all. So don't be outraged and talking about class and sportsmanship when Angel Reese does the same thing. So again, this photo I think illustrates it well. She does it right here. Nobody's in the picture. She's doing it to her, imitating, taunting her. Again, in this scenario, you look at the picture. I have no issue with her doing it at the free throw line. My issue with it came about, and a lot of people didn't agree with me, is when she went, and I told Craig this morning, she went and ran down the court, did this literally in her face, and did this in her face, right? So that is when I found trouble with it, or found problem or issue with it, right? And it's become a race thing. But as I said, I think in that moment, she did like some sportsmanship, right? I have no problem with you celebrating, right? You could try to talk all day long. That's fine, right? My issue came up when you did it in her face, right? You could have went to the sideline after you won. I mean, obviously you know you're going to win, and you could have did this to the crowd, the audience, right? Whenever Caitlin Clark celebrated, and you could be like, "Oh, well, she told what's your name to shut up." In the game when they played Louisville, she was talking mess to her, so she did it back to her. Clayton Clark didn't say nothing to Angel Reese the whole game, right? So she didn't do it at all to her the whole game. That's one. Number two, when she was upset, this was in games that they didn't even play LSU, right? The South Carolina game, I've been playing basketball for in a championship perspective, and you'd be like, "Oh, that person can't shoot." They did the scouting report. It was like, "Nah, I'm not going to guard you. Like, I know you can't shoot that," right? And then the other one was that. So again, that's where I found issue with it. I have no problem with you celebrating. I have no problem with you trash talking. Like, this is my, you know what? Aaron Donald has done it in the Super Bowl. Go to any example recently, right? And they don't do it to the player. When Aaron Donald won the Super Bowl and beat my favorite team, the Bengals, he did it to the audience, to the crowd. When Joe Burrow did this in the championship game, did he do it to Trevor Lawrence? Did he do it to the Clemson defense? No. So that was my issue with it. I don't care about a player doing that. I'm all for that. That makes the game fun. That makes the game exciting. Again, my issue was she continued with it afterwards and ran her down and did it in her face. I'll let you chime in, Craig.
Yeah, the game was over. The game was over, and you said it turned into a race thing. Of course it did, because then afterwards she said, "Oh, well, I did it because I was just being black." What does that mean? Like, she's the one that said it. I did it because I was being black. Listen, the fact that people can't understand that, the fact that, okay, when did Caitlin Clark do it? I don't know. A game that wasn't viewed millions and millions of times, people didn't even realize that she did it. And so now everyone's reacting to it happening in the national championship because more people were watching. And then they'll be like, well, why didn't you say anything when Caitlin Clark did it? To walk over to a player when the game is over and do that, that's obviously going to rub people the wrong way. I mean, we see people trash talk or whatever, but even in that game, Caitlin Clark gets the delay technical foul. That's a taunting foul.
Yeah, it's a tag.
It's a technical foul.
It's a tag.
I thought LSU played amazing. I mean,
They did.
Their bench stepped up. You had girls hitting
Jasmine Carson,
highs.
22 points.
An unbelievable.
Alexis Morris was
effort.
a mid-range supreme. Come on.
And so, like, even if you went out there and dropped 50 points, I still just don't see the point in going, that hard, and then just afterward, just saying, "Yeah, I did it because I'm black, and I'm trying to give people a voice that don't have a voice." It's like I don't get that. It seemed like it was almost clout chasing because everyone knew Caitlin Clark was having. I mean, she set
An
the
incredible tournament.
all-time tournament record.
Mhm.
You had a great game. You had a double-double. Everyone loves you. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Everyone was happy for LSU. It was
Yep.
a great team effort. And then
Yep.
after the game, act like everyone was cheering against you. Do I disagree that okay, someone could say, I thought that was classless. Well, that's fine. The people that say you are classless, I think that's different. Calling someone classless is different than saying they think that was, but it's just turned into a huge mess. I've never
Yep.
seen anything like it.
Yep.
But you can't say that it's the same thing. If LeBron does his finisher and then I walk up to him after a loss or whatever and I'm doing it in his face, that's different. But I mean, I still think at the end of the day, this is good for women's basketball. That was I said before the Final Four. I said I think the women's championship is going to be a better game. It's never been watched more. The whole
9.9 million
social
average
media
viewers.
is talking about it. I think this is a net positive. I think it's a good thing, and I don't know. I just think once you get into this territory, though, where they're coming after you for just saying, "Hey, I think it's a little different the way that she did it. It was longer. It was at the end of the game. She kind of did it in her face." That's all you're saying. You aren't saying anything else other than that.
That's it.
But then it turns into somehow that opinion is like aligned with Keith Olbermann. No, it's not.
No,
You're just
it's
saying
not.
objectively what you think, and
No.
then next
Not-
thing you know, everyone is, well, whose side are you on?
Literally.
No one's on
Literally.
the side. We're just saying, like,
Objectively,
Yeah.
what literally happened. Like that, like what he did, calling her an effing idiot, like that was OD. Like he did the most.
yeah, especially
and-
when he is.
Yeah, I mean, like that did too much. Right. That's what I'm saying, right? You see it. I'm not gonna sit here because we're live on the thing, but your comment, right? She mouthed the word, you know what I'm saying? So again, in that situation at the free throw line, when she did this, I had no issue. That's fine, right? My issue, I'll call issue with it when she went 15, 20 seconds down court and continued to do it after they won the game. After I won a championship game, I'm not thinking about the opponent, right? Thinking about all the success and hard work I put in and realizing the moment, right? So again, I never heard Caitlin Clark say anything prior to the game about LSU. She said she respected we're going to guard them different. So I don't know where all that stemmed from. That's just my take on it. I think it was OD. She was excessive with it. And I don't think it's a race thing, right? So if I'm a sellout for that, I guess I am, right? Because it's not a race thing, right? Now, if she did this and went to the audience and said something, or you know what I'm saying, or she did that with her teammates, cool. But again, go celebrate teammates. Exactly. That's my whole point. If you exactly. Go celebrate with your teammates. You've already beat them. You've won. Exactly. But
Yeah, well, then after the game too, which I really don't care about, like, talking trash or whatever. But
Right.
I mean, afterwards, she's on the court with her teammates. She's holding up the L sign to all the Iowa fans or whatever. It's just like,
yeah,
she knows that people are going to disagree with that. They're going to have that
Yeah.
opinion, but to sit here and just turn it into the firestorm, the absolute eruption on social media, it's just crazy to me
No.
because someone can simply come in and say, "Hey, you know what? I kind of disagree. I think it was a little different." And then, nope, you're on side with people that are saying all these horrible things. It's like, well, no, I'm really not.
No.
Like, I'm having a unique objective opinion, but it's,
Literally.
and then, yeah, it also turns into, I think the bigger narrative right now, which I don't necessarily disagree. It's like, how come when this player does it, no one has a problem with it, but when this one does, they do?
Yeah, that's
and
the big
that's the
thing right
racial
now.
thing right now.
Yeah.
We've heard that all the time about Serena Williams with, hey, how come John McEnroe's allowed to slam his racket down and literally scream and berate the line judge, and then when Serena doesn't like a call, she's criticized. People still love Serena. Yeah, there is going to be some criticism, but then I heard something else. This is my problem. Don't lie. You'll have people up there today. Philip Rivers has a bad attitude. and no one has ever
I heard that too.
criticized him. Let's think about that statement. No one has ever criticized him.
He's been
Like,
criticized.
wait,
before.
prove that there hasn't been one person. They're athletes. They're always criticized.
Right.
This has turned into something where I don't know. I think it is going to add excitement to the women's game. I don't
That's a
mind
good
this
point, Jimmy.
kind of like WWE aspect of the whole thing. I mean,
I
that
like
was the most-
emotion. I like passion. I do, but chronicle it in the right way, though.
Yeah, I just think it's dishonest to sit there and pretend that it was the same thing. That it's just
Two different things, man. Two different things.
one's in the national championship game,
and the other was
no
in,
one
what,
was
the
doing a ring
216?
thing in the other thing, and then
No.
yeah, and then I think it was brewing. Just I guess after the big win over South
It's a
Carolina.
tennis player.
Oh yeah, John McEnroe.
Yeah, it's a tennis player.
Yeah, it was a weird reference, but
Yeah.
I mean this. Oh yeah, and then afterwards, I thought this was weird too. Jill Biden, First Lady, she
wanted to invite
said she
Iowa.
wanted to invite both sports. Well, what's the intention on that? I feel like it would be from a perspective of, hey, this was a great Final Four, great tournament. Let's just celebrate women's basketball. I don't think it's anything other than that. And then people see that and they're like, see, it's like, what are you implying she's trying to say? That you guys aren't the national champions? It's like,
Right.
but I guess there really is some beef between these teams now. I just thought it was exciting.
Yeah.
A great game. LSU played amazing.
They did.
It
Their
was-
shot making was incredible in that game. I mean, you can't get much, but they scored 102 points. I think that was the most in the championship
It was
game.
great, and I really think the women's Final Four and championship has become the premier
see.
women's sports
Yeah.
event.
And I mean, what was good too overall, and what I hate that got lost in this is that the growth of the sport, the growth of the game, right? I mean, obviously now you're gonna have more people tuning in, right? 12 million viewers have watched that game, 9.9 million average, right? And it's just great for the sport because now it's expanding. More people want to see it, right? So that's what gets lost in this. But I mean, again, incredible. I'm happy for the sport. It's going to continue to get better and better. And they already have that rule in place. You got to play 3 or 4+ years before you can even go to the WNBA draft. So, I mean, I can't wait to see what the sports is like next year. It was great, but that's our thoughts on it. If we're sellouts for that, I guess we are. But it is what it is. Like I said, we gave objective points to it. We didn't agree with those other comments. I think those were, under the thing, baseline comments that was unwarranted. I think, but at the same time, again, her action, and then I'll say this and wrap on this. She said before the season, she said people were calling her too ghetto, and loud and all that. But as I said in my video, you don't do yourself any favors when you conduct yourself in that manner as well, right? I'm not saying I agree with what they said about her. I'm not saying it's right what they said, but I'm saying as a person, and obviously, like you said, you're authentically you, which is fine. Be yourself. But at the same time, you don't do yourselves any favors when you act in that way as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is social media. This is the name of the game. But
Yeah.
I think a perfect example of what I'm trying to say is like there is a difference between people that are like you're classless with these insults that are being hurled, and the people that are just kind of chiming in and say, "Hey, I disagree. It was a little different. I thought she shouldn't have done that or whatever."
Mhm.
And then it stops there. There's a difference between the Iowa coach saying that a team is good at rebounding. Man, it's going to be a bar fight out there. We're really going to have to toughen up their physical team, and then calling the team like, I don't know, just like
Offensive
what you
terms.
said, offensive terms
Yeah.
about their appearances and all that
They're
stuff.
loud and yup.
There is a difference,
Yes.
but once these issues, and it happens literally every day. This is just the latest thing that everyone's mad about.
Mhm.
Which I mean, it is what it is. But I just think to lump in everyone's opinion. Like I remember when the whole thing happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock, I had one person say, "Hey man, you shouldn't have done that." MLK's family was going after Donnell Suggs, telling him like, "Hey, stop like being a sellout and stuff." It's like that's not what he's doing. He's just saying that he didn't like seeing it. It's just I don't know. But yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
She's become that figure now, and it seems to me that she embraces that. She wants to be confident, talk trash. Which is fine. She wants to be authentically herself.
Yeah.
She's talented.
She is.
She was given
She's great.
she hit the lottery. She's
Most double doubles ever
Yeah.
in not tournament history, but in the season. So I
Yeah.
mean,
But it's just when you come out and you're aggressive, you kind of want to take on that role.
Yep.
They're going to be coming after you next season. A lot of other players.
yeah,
It's
that's the name of the game. Go look at any other sport.
And then it seemed one last point. It's like when she was talking about how she was doing it because she felt like, I guess, Caitlyn disrespected another team.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
And
what
then,
does that have to do with you, though? Why is that personal? That's what I didn't understand. But okay, obviously LSU and South Carolina are in the same conference, right? But was that directed to you? That's where I kind of that's where my question mark went off. I didn't understand that. That had nothing to do with you.
Right. But then her quote after saying that, she said, I want to take on that role of being a black woman that's going to stand up for the girls that may not have a voice. Is she implying that if a black player did this like Caitlin Clark did, she wouldn't have done that to her in the championship game? That seems to be what she's implying, which that's fine. These rivalries exist. Like, let's just be honest. When a public school plays a private school, when a majority white school plays a majority black school, that exists. It's trash talking. That's sports.
Yeah.
That has been an interesting dynamic forever. When you're watching the state championships in the 100 meters, 200 meters, the Olympics, that pride, I get that. But I think you got to take that out of context. Just say, hey, wait a minute. Were these two instances really the same? No, they weren't.
Exactly.
And that's all I would say. I don't see a problem with it. I think overall it is, this entire season was good for women's basketball.
It was, and going forward.
And I think the fans care more about this than the players do.
Good point too.
Like,
yeah.
I think I was upset they lost the game, but all the comments after it, hey, LSU deserved to win.
Mm-hmm.
They played outstanding. Yep. It is what it is. Well, we had a great year too. And then the fans are the ones that are going nuts.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I am going to have to go on and log on. I want to see some of these debates.
It's really interesting. You'll see. But we're going to leave it there, y'all. We're going to get to our third segment, and then we'll address obviously some comments in there. Jimmy, leave us a couple questions there you want us to address before the show's over as well if you're still watching. Definitely want to address that before we wrap up today. But third segment, Andrew Wiggins is coming back for the Warriors. That was announced this past week. I do have a stat for you, Graham. They have the best defensive rating when it is Steph Curry, Kevon Looney, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson this season. So I think it's big for them as we enter the stretch of playoffs. Only 4 games left for the regular season, I think, for most teams. So I think it's big getting Wiggins back. And I think he's going to have a big impact for them. He's like their third best player. When Klay's off, he's a person that can slash, get to the rim, get his own shot, create for others. I think that's going to be big for them going forward. I'm not saying they're going to win the title, but I do think that helps and bodes well for them going into postseason.
Huge boost. He has missed a bunch of games, 22.
Yep.
So coming back, we'll see how immediate it is. But yeah, you look at his month of February, he was outstanding, shooting the ball well. As you said, he can step up, knock threes at a high percentage. Maybe not Klay Thomas, but that is a really talented starting lineup. And I like what you said, the defensive factor.
Yeah. It's going to be important.
Yeah.
It's going to be important. So we're excited for that big game Wednesday, actually tomorrow, Lakers and Clippers. Those teams are both, I think, the same record. I think the Clippers got a game on them, 41-38. So I think that'll be interesting. Yeah, leave us a comment below, Jimmy. Not a comment, I'm sorry. A question below that you want us to answer before the show's over. Definitely.
Was that a typo?
I think it was. But real quick, I didn't put this in our list, but Craig, any team that you're just excited to see as postseason is about to kick off?
I'd say, the entire Western Conference, I think, is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
In terms of the East, let's just see the 76ers. I think that is the big narrative. Everyone wants to see if they can finally put that run together, see if they're going to potentially have to blow things up. But Graham's giving a thumbs down. We'll see. But no, I want to see the West. I really do.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. The play-in teams can make a run.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much more depth there.
yeah, I think that'll be interesting. Yeah, we'll see. We'll leave it there. Your Hawks, Jimmy, are pretty interesting. 500 in almost everything. I don't know. It's tough to say for the Hawks. DeJounte Murray and Trae Young obviously are good, but can they pull off an upset? I don't know. I mean, they're gonna either play the Bucks first round or they're gonna play the Celtics. Both of those matchups are tough. I don't know. I don't see it, Jimmy, respectfully. But we're gonna leave that there. Latest on the Braves. Braves have a big series coming up this weekend. They're gonna play San Diego Padres. They're gonna be on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. They've been having a good start to the season, 3-1. Ronald Acuna Jr. had a good game in their last one against the Cardinals, who they got 2 more games against before they play the Padres. Ozzie Albies actually hit a homer in his last game. I think Acuna Jr. had 3 RBIs and 3 hits in the last game as well. But the Braves are actually favored, one of the favorites to actually win the World Series. First it's actually the Yankees, and then it's them. But just what do you think from them? Charlie Morton had a decent game, last time out. But what do you think about them, their pitching, and just the potential run they could have?
Thought they had a great start. The 2-0, they lost a game, and it's a great sign that they rebounded with a big win. All on the road so far, 3-1. Early in the season, of course, no team in the NL is undefeated at this point.
Nope.
But Acuna had a 3-run bomb yesterday. There is a lot of excitement, and then they're going to be playing after the Cardinals series wraps up, the home opener against the Padres. That is going to be really exciting. The Padres started 0-2. They've won 3 straight. They were up there in that top 3 favorites. So I think it's going to be a really exciting home opener for the Braves coming up here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see their pitching in this one against really good batting of the Padres. I mean, Xavier Bogaerts there. Juan Soto hit a homer in his last game. Manny Machado. So I'm interested to see, who's going to be their starters in this series. How good their bullpen is going to be. I think it's going to be important for the Braves if they're able to get this series victory against the Padres. I think that's something to look out for. And how good is their batting going to be? Can Matt Olson continue to impress? I think he's hit over 2 home runs already this season. Can continue to impress along with Acuna Jr. and obviously Albies as well. So I think it's going to be a good series. Really had nothing to do this weekend. I think that's a series to check out.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that are going to try to go to it. I was looking at kind of what are the ticket prices going across these season openers, these home openers. I mean, the Braves are up there. I mean, there is just a ton of support, and I think it's a good sign, not only the 3-1 start on the road, but really just being able to bounce back. That is the key to not falling in a slump. How do you respond to a loss? You don't want those losing streaks. As long as they keep up a strong start, I think they can position themselves better than last year, where they had to make that really drastic turnaround late in the year.
Yep. And then before we conclude, Craig, any topics you wanted to hit on?
Oh, man. Well, I am coming back. Let's see. I wrote that. Let's look at the high school coaches real quick, because I find this interesting. We saw the Sandy Creek position was the latest one. Coach Darius Smiley. There are still some openings, though. I want to go over this because this is pretty late into this carousel for these to get filled. So let's see real quick. All right, you got Clarkston, Crawford County, Loganville. That will be an interesting one. Petula Charter, Providence Christian, Savannah, South Atlanta. They are still looking for a replacement for Coach Woolridge. Tri-Cities, Woodland, Stockbridge, Wheeler County, Twiggs County. So there's about 20 openings still. So I expect those to fill this week, if not next week, because the semester is quickly wrapping up.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of kids are in spring break right now. They have about a month and probably 2 weeks left, and then they'll be out of school. So, no, I agree. The South Atlanta opening, who's going to replace Woolridge? Pebblebrook's obviously a team to watch out for next season to see how quickly he can get them up to snuff. How quickly can they be competitive? I think it's interesting to see as well. But no, those head coaching positions are going to be interesting. We've been saying Grayson for the past couple of weeks just to see how Centavious Bryant is going to do. But I think we're going to have not all of our questions answered, but a good bit of them when we have our Corky Kell 7-on-7 in the summer in June. I think we'll learn a lot about the teams and how they're looking, especially from the positions groups. I think that's going to be interesting to see as well.
Yep, and I was with Grayson's new offensive coordinator this weekend down in Florida, and I asked him, I said, all right, who is the best athlete at Grayson right now? Who's the best athlete you've seen? He said, Tyler Atkinson, no doubt.
That guy's different.
And we've been saying it, you guys, that season opener, the final game of the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic, Grayson and Walton is going to be unbelievable.
Matt, whoever's calling the game, I mean, like there's not to me. I mean, obviously there's gonna be some good games. Like all of the games are good, but the season opener, the nightcap, the closer for the Corky Kell prior to I guess the season started, because it's kind of like week 0 when it goes. You can't call a better game than Grayson versus Walton. I mean, it doesn't get better. There's so much going on. New regime, players coming in, really great quarterback. Curious to see what step forward Jeff Davis takes this season. New position players are going to have to step up for Grayson. I think, again, one of the best quarterbacks in the state. I mean, you lump him in. We're probably going to do a top 5 rankings prior to the season, but Jeremy Hillis, right there. I think he's going to continue to play better. As you mentioned, Craig, I think got a little bit of chip on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. A guy I think, they're going to be right there. So, to me, the season opener, it doesn't get any better than Walton versus Grayson.
Yeah, and think about what Tyler Atkinson did out the gates last year as a freshman in the Corky Kell. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, you have that defense going up against that offense. And then one of the other things Keith was saying, that the OC, he came from Lake Gibson, Florida. They had so many high talented recruits. Kamari, who's at Colorado now, I think he was number 2 in the country last year. But he said he was kind of blown away with the overall strength that Coach Carter left Grayson in. He said he's never seen that many guys power cleaning over 285. This is a really strong team. A lot of unproven pieces that haven't really been in the role. They did replace some guys. And so that's another interesting aspect. I mean, it's a huge opportunity for them. And obviously they've been one of the best teams in the state the last decade. So, yeah, even down in Florida, people are talking about that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, that go to show you how big it is in Georgia, and how big it's becoming. But real quick, I did want to address one of your comments. I don't know your name, but 23423. We appreciate you tuning in and being active in the comment section. Whoever's tuning in, make sure you continue to do that. We love that. But yeah, this is not what really addressed, but I do watch a lot of Premier League soccer. But no, I don't think Thomas Tuchel should have ever been sacked. I thought he was a good manager. I thought he was just in a little bit of a rough patch for Chelsea. But, I did a video on it. It's kind of went a little viral on my TikTok at Najee Woke. But I think Chelsea they've been an embarrassment this season. They've put all this money that they've invested, $400+ million, and they're currently 11th in the standings, right? Chelsea is a creme de la creme, top tier kind of a program out there in the Premier League, and they're always competing and battling for Champions League titles and things like that. But the only way to salvage this season is to win a Champions League title, which is tough because their next opponent in the quarterfinal is going to be Real Madrid, right? And Karim Benzema's coming off a hat trick that he had. And he's playing really good football right now. They got Vinicius Jr. They have a really good attacking end for them. So I don't know. I mean, to tell you, that loss against Aston Villa, that 2-0 loss was, really embarrassing at home. We did get rid of Graham Potter. I thought we should have never hired him. Good luck to him in the future, obviously, but I don't think he was the fit for us. So right now, I mean, you're kind of in flux, right? I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who they're going to hire, but it's a team that almost kind of thrown together, right? So they're going to have to find a coach that has a dominant voice, a coach that has experience, is able to kind of, get the players to buy into his system, buy into his strategies and what he wants to do. And, if they can do that, they can get back on track, but it's going to take some time. And you can't just hire anybody willy-nilly. You got to make sure you get somebody that can really, resonate with the players. I think that's going to be important. So we'll see how they finish the season, but that is their only hope to me to salvage the season, is to win the Champions League, which certainly will not be easy.
Yep. I just want to say one more thing. I saw last night my former UGA weight coach, Dave Van Gorder, a towering figure. He was probably like 6'9". I think he was probably in his upper 60s, but he passed away. he was just a great guy. People criticize some of the outdated methods of UGA or whatever, but in terms of a motivator, someone that kind of brought that team culture and just connected with players individually, you can't ask for a better guy. He came over when Rick first took the job, helped build Georgia throughout those years. You look at what they're doing now. I think he was a really important figure, and it just goes to show strength coaches, they can have a great impact on a lot of people. I know a lot of my former teammates were reaching out and they were kind of chiming in, just fond memories, which you wouldn't think so from the weight room, but he was a really great guy.
Yeah, RIP to him, and we said our condolences to him and the Georgia family. Hate to hear that and see that, but yes, definitely condolences, and appreciate Craig, sharing his story and sharing his experience with this coach.
Yep. And I never got to have my glorious moment at Georgia in terms of scoring a touchdown or doing anything, but he did come up to me when I was just beast moding it in the weight room, and he goes, "You know what, Craig? You are a college football player. You're actually," and he's like, "I mean that. You're good enough. You're good enough." And so that meant a lot. Even as a walk on, he recognized that saying something like that, that's kind of what I needed, because you don't really get a lot of the attention. God, I was probably fist string at that point. But no, he was, yeah, a really good man.
For sure. And we're going to leave it there, y'all. We appreciate you tuning in, man. We got to 4 people to listen to us today. So stay tuned. We are live again every Tuesday at noon. So make sure you tap in, tune into that. We'll be sharing it on our social medias. Follow our TikTok, Score Atlanta. Follow our YouTube page, Score Atlanta as well. And follow our Twitter. It's where all of our content, and scoretl.com, all of our content and all the major news and happenings around high school sports and all the sports around across the country will be at. So appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you guys next week for another episode.